I trust you are coming through your own experience to confirm what correct or proper practice is, to let the walls come down, for the practice to become constant and complete, in the sense that it's no longer something we go into and out of, but it comes naturally to be the way we are. Nothing excluded. There is nothing outside of it. No matter how busy or confused we may become, we do not step out of the practice. It's not that kind of thing. Confirming this for ourselves is essential. Proper guidance can be very helpful, but each one of us must confirm this for themselves. To put it very simply, the ceaselessly seeking mind, as it's called, this ceaselessly seeking mind itself comes fully to rest, to its own end. And then we see through what remains. What is there? To put it more bluntly, the very need to be someone, to be something, this very need is set free. Even more directly, the very need for some self to be set free, to be released, is itself set free. Then the real practice begins. To put it even more bluntly, there is no self to come back to. When we give ourselves, when we, in a good sense, lose ourselves in something, doing something, performing music or listening to music, in a sense, we lose ourselves and we find ourselves in that music or whatever. The point of sustained practice, very simply, is to awaken to the fact that there is no shell, no form that we need to return to. This may sound frightening for an ego self that is unsettled and insecure, but when you really see it through, it is the insecurity, the unsettledness of the self that must be undone. This is the source of our distress. You see, we don't need an identity, a self-identity to come back to. Do you? Even if you had one, what would you do with it? Carry it around on your shoulders? Huh? Compare it with someone else's? It's utterly worthless. It's a delusion. It is the self-delusion that is the delusion of the self. And the sooner you see through it, the better. There is no such thing. Never was and never will be. And yet there certainly are stubborn entanglements that we find ourselves in. This is the heart of the practice, to really make it clear all the way through. What is the nature of this self, this thing we call the self? Again, I challenge you, see in your moment to moment, day-to-day life, do you need a self to come back to? In your practice, do you need some self to go forward to eventually attain? That's equally a delusion, isn't it? To be truly settled in the practice, truly settled here and now in this practice, is to have nothing you need to seek, nothing you need to escape. This is where compassion comes from. This is where love works. We're doing this now online. We're not physically together. It's a shame, and yet this is the present situation. This is the way it is. In a word, we can say the practice now is to really bring it home, bring it close to home. I don't just mean physically, but not turn this marvelous practice into anything, not to objectify it, to turn it into anything at all, anything. Because this practice cannot be objectified. It cannot be turned into some notion, some idea, some set view, some goal that we may achieve. It is none of that. It is much more intimate, much closer to home than any of those. I urge you, confirm for yourself, this present practice cannot be, need not be objectified, turned into anything. Then it can freely work and do what needs to be done. And when nothing needs to be done, relax, enjoy yourself. Being there, whatever arises in daily life, the difficulties, the challenges, there is the real dojo, the real place of practice. In those difficulties, there is where the practice must shine. Otherwise, it's worthless. Again, I urge you to see, is there something, some self-identity you need to come back to and hold on to? Is there some self-identity you need to eventually reach or attain? One, see what's called the precious jewel in your own home, in your own hand, and then you don't go seeking again. This is a marvelous opportunity for all of us to practice together and make this really clear for ourselves. If the need arises in your practice, we can always be in touch by Skype or whatever, make contact. I wouldn't call it one-on-one exactly, but it's what we have at present. Let us make the best use of it. I hope to see you again before long. Thank you all for listening so intently.